Thank you, council members. I appreciate the time here to come and speak about something that I'm very passionate about and have been talking about for about 2 decades now. The title of my slide, I don't feel is exaggerated at all, and the science will back me up on this, and my partner, Dr. Carmen, will touch on a lot of the science very soon. For those of you who don't know, it's not a nutrient, it's not essential for health. No study has ever shown a disease state where they lack fluoride. The actual fluoride that's added to our water, as was mentioned earlier, is hydrofluorosilicic acid, which is a waste product from the fertilizer industry. It's not sodium fluoride, it's not calcium fluoride, it's not the same animal at all. The silicofluorides, if you look at all the science on it, and it's been looked at for about 50 plus years now, is really damning on how it gets through the body. It's not handled the same at all. This is the one way that you can get fluoride over the counter is toothpaste. And even that has a warning saying don't swallow it. So we're taught in dental school that it's the panacea. And I believe that the day I graduated and did for even a couple of years. But after looking into the science, I realized that this was not the case at all. That and just right here, the actual toothpaste that you would use, they warn you that if you swallow more than a pea-sized amount to go see a poison control center. So the one type of fluoride that you can actually get over the counter, you're not allowed to swallow either. These are some examples that you've already seen probably in several handouts of what's happening really to our Austin kids. And I've got a slide here, I hope that shows up, that shows actual Austin kids with fluorosis. When you asked earlier about what were are there any cons to it, and she said not really at those levels, that's not true. Even as low as 0.7 levels, which they both just said that we've had for many years, Austin kids that are born and raised on Austin water have fluorosis. 41% of them do. And the reason why they lowered the level to 0.7 was not because they thought it seemed like the optimal level now. It's because of this issue. There are too many kids that their teeth are ruined from drinking fluoride. And mind you, that's the only effect that drinking fluoride has on teeth is a deleterious one. It's not beneficial. You can drink it all day. It has no effect on your teeth whatsoever in a beneficial way. Topical is the only means of actually being effective. There's some Austin kids here. A couple are from my practice. One's from another practice here in town. Kids that were born and raised. We verified it from the parents here in Austin. This is the comment that we hear all the time, right? It's water fluoridation is one of the top 10 public health achievements of the 20th century. It sounds really impressive. And we hear it all the time from all the Surgeon Generals and everybody else that speaks. But all you got to do is go through the Freedom of Information Act to find out who actually said it. It's an economist and a dentist that are in the oral health division of the CDC, which is a very small amount of the 14,000 members of the CDC. That's their names. They're Scott Tomar, who had never published anything on fluoridation, and Susan Griffin, an economist. They're not toxicologists. 2 of 30 people in the oral health division. So when you hear that statement, just realize where it actually came from. It's not that damning after all. This is their actual position, by the way. These are quotes from the CDC. Fluoride's predominant effect is post-eruptive and topical. Why this is so important is that fluoridation is all about pre-eruption and systemic. This is the exact opposite of what fluoridation is supposed to do. Here's another comment as recent as 2012. We are unaware of data about the additional protection from tooth decay that could result from consumption of fluoridated drinking water. These are quotes that you can find. We've got everything documented. We've got all the citations for you. So you can find all these comments here. What does the FDA say? The FDA classifies fluoride as unapproved drug, and they've never approved any fluoride-containing supplements or over-the-counter drugs. This is as recent as 2005 commentary from the FDA. What does the World Health Organization say? I had to actually circle where our country is because here's the deal. If you look on that graph, the top, I guess it's about 14 countries there, do not fluoridate. They're unfluoridated. The bottom 4 are fluoridated. Look at the difference. Can you tell me who's gone down in decay rates? Everybody has. Has nothing to do with drinking fluoridated water. It's across the board. And as you guys, I think, mentioned earlier, 98% of Western Europe doesn't fluoridate. And they don't all add it to their salt either. Sweden has no fluoride in their entire country as far as any kind of additional fluoride, and their decay rates are the same. There's no difference. So this new safe level, which has already been touched on several times, so I won't waste any more time on it. Again, it was done because of the adolescents getting all the fluorosis. Bottle-fed babies. This is really why we're here. And he also mentioned this as well. It's way more than what human breast milk has. There's a protective mechanism in breast milk to keep fluoride at such a low level because of the harm that it causes. So here we are. How do you control the dosage? I mean, as adults, we drink way more, water, and yet we get less exposure than a baby that is bottle-fed, where 80% of their diet is water. And in East Austin, maybe where they can't afford to go buy spring water all the time, or whatever areas there are, that's not fair. They have to use tap water. This was a warning that was sent out to us members of the ADA in 2006, and this was shortly after the NRC came out with a really great report, which Dr. Carmen will touch on. But look at this. It says, if liquid concentrate or powdered infant formula is the primary source of nutrition, it should be mixed with water that is fluoride-free or contains low levels of fluoride to reduce the risk of fluorosis. This is from the people who think fluoridation is wonderful. They're actually telling us as dentists what to tell our patients. This is huge. This is Mosaic. This is the company that sells the hydrofluorosilicic acid to Austin. And I want you to look at, I made it larger because it's so hard to read, but this was their MSDS sheet, which was changed in May 2011. This was right after that warning came out saying, let's lower to 0.7. And that whole warning is geared toward children. This is a information sheet about their product. Workers, staff employees, adults who look at this. This has nothing to do with children at all, yet they're doing this warning. And the reason why they're doing it, it takes all liability off of them. As soon as it gets into our tanks here in Austin, now the city of Austin is responsible. So if any kind of litigation goes on down the road with, oh, my child was ruined by this water, Mosaic's out of it. It was very clever, actually, to include that on their MSDS sheet. One final comment here on this. This was a statement from 1979, and I show this because when you read this, I think we all get the same feeling as what's happening here. And it says, individual dentists must be convinced that they not be familiar with scientific reports and field investigations on fluoridation to be effective participants, and that non-participation is overt neglect of personal responsibility. I'm insulted by this because I want to look at the science and the field reports. I want to know what's really out there instead of just what I'm being spoon-fed. And this is the problem, I think, is a lot of my colleagues, with all due respect, they do what they're told. Oftentimes we practice in these little blinders, and I like to look out. And the science is absolutely convincing and is getting more and more with all the new IQ reports that are out there. There's 41 animal studies showing lowered IQ in humans when they're exposed to water fluoridation. It just goes on, which Dr. Carmen will touch on. But one final comment that I did want to say is that, Austin has the St. David's Foundation, which has this wonderful dental van that goes to all the Title I schools, and we've treated thousands of kids over the past decade and a half with sealants and exams and cleanings and education. This is the way we lower decay rates. It's not adding an artificial silicofluoride to our water system. This is the way we do it. And I'd be willing to volunteer time on my own to give out toothbrushes or education, and I'm sure I have plenty of colleagues who would as well. We can't, our babies and children have no choice, but we do, so it's time to make the right one. Thank you.